travelers to Midnight Atlas.
Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
That rhyme, it's pretty chilling, isn't it? Echoed through American history for, wow, over a century now. But here's where we get to correct the record straight away. Abby, her stepmother, actually suffered, well, the reports say 18 or 19 blows.
Right.
And Andrew, her father, got 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a total of 29 blows, definitely not 81. Still absolutely horrific, of course, but the rhyme certainly added some drama. Today, we're diving deep into one of America's most enduring and, gruesome unsolved mysteries, the 1892 Fall River Axe murders and, of course, the trial of Lizzie Borden herself. And our mission, really, for this deep dive is to unpack the facts, look at the often really contradictory evidence, the absolute sensational trial, and the many, many theories that have popped up over the years. We want to give you a clear understanding of why, over 130 years later, this case still utterly captivates people. It's like a shortcut to grasping this really complex historical event without getting totally bogged down in documents.
Absolutely. And we've meticulously gone through articles, historical accounts, and some really fascinating deep dives into the cultural impact, just trying to distill the most compelling parts of this infamous case for you. So let's step back in time. Let's go to the horrifying discovery itself, August 4th, 1892. Okay, picture this. It's a brutally hot August morning in Fall River, Massachusetts. We're at 92 2nd Street, the Borden family home. Bridget Sullivan, she's the live-in maid, often called Maggie, is taking, a rare moment to rest in her room. She'd been washing windows all morning. The clock at City Hall is just striking 11.
And then, silence shattered.
Yeah, a scream just cuts through that oppressive summer quiet. It's Lizzie Borden, the younger daughter, and she's shouting, "Maggie, come down! Come down quick! Father's dead! Somebody came in and killed him!"
And what investigators immediately had to deal with was just the sheer brutality of what they found after that scream. Andrew Borden downstairs, slumped on a couch, just absolutely brutalized, hacked almost beyond recognition, about 10 or 11 blows from some kind of hatchet-like weapon. And crucially, his body was still warm. That tells you it was a very recent attack.
Right.
One of his eyes was actually split. Some think he might have been asleep when that first blow hit.
Just horrific. Yet, as shocking as Andrew's discovery was, the true scale of the horror. Well, it only became clear about half an hour later. A neighbor, Adelaide Churchill, she'd come over to offer comfort, and she made a second, even more grisly discovery.
Abby Borden, Lizzie's stepmother, upstairs in the guest room.
And this discovery, this is where it gets really complicated, right?
Yeah. It completely rewrites the timeline. It's a detail that immediately creates this huge puzzle for anyone trying to figure out what happened. Abby's body.
It was cold.
Cold.
Yeah.
Which indicated she'd been killed at least 90 minutes earlier than Andrew. Probably sometime between, say, 9:00 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Struck an astonishing 18 or 19 times. Mostly to the back of the head, it seems, after an initial blow above the ear made her fall face down.
Wow.
The implication here is massive. 2 murders, probably the same weapon, but with this really significant gap in time. It just blows up any simple idea of a single quick intruder.
So, investigators arrive. They see this incredibly gruesome scene. What immediately jumps out at them? What questions are they scrambling to answer? You've got 2 savage murders, this big time gap between them, and supposedly only 3 other people in the house.
Right.
The maid, Maggie, the now dead father, and Lizzie.
Right.
It's a setup straight out of a mystery novel, isn't it?
It really is.
Now, to really get the dynamics here, we need to talk about the family, the Bordens. Andrew Borden. He was undeniably a wealthy guy, influential in Fall River, made his fortune in furniture, caskets, property development, banking, you name it.
Yeah.
His estate was valued at something like $300,000 back then, which today, that's like $10 million.
Yeah, about $10 million.
Yeah.
Huge money. But what's really insightful about Andrew, it isn't just the wealth, it's the frugality, how it showed up in his home. His choice to skip indoor plumbing, which was pretty common for wealthy folks then, it suggests this kind of rigid control. It probably went beyond just the house setup.
Interesting point.
For Lizzie and Emma, it likely felt less like being careful with money and more like like he was deliberately withholding things. You can see how that would fuel resentment under that sort of respectable surface.
Right. And Lizzie herself, born July 19th, 1860, she was 32 when the murders happened. She had this religious upbringing, very involved in church, taught Sunday school, active in the Women's Christian Temperance Union.
Yeah.
On the surface, the picture of perfect respectability.
Which immediately makes you ask, how could a woman like that be accused of something so heinous? The strained family relationships, they give us crucial clues. Lizzie and her older sister Emma, they called Abby Mrs. Borden.
That says a lot.
It really does. A clear sign of emotional distance.
Mm-hmm.
Both sisters believed Abby married their father for his money. And the maid, Bridget Sullivan, she even testified that the sisters hardly ever ate meals with their parents. It paints a picture of a really fractured household.
And the money disputes. They definitely didn't help ease that tension.
Yeah.
Andrew giving real estate to Abby's family, that apparently caused serious anger for Lizzie and Emma.
Oh, yeah.
And just weeks before the murders, there was this telling move. The sisters demanded a rental property they used to live in, bought it from their dad for just $1.
$1?
Yeah. Then sold it back to him for $5,000, which you said is like $170,000 today?
Roughly, yeah. It wasn't just about the cash. It was a power play. It shows this ongoing conflict over inheritance simmering right below the surface.
Definitely.
And putting this in context, another thing maybe stirring the pot was the visit from their maternal uncle, John Vinica Morse. He stayed the night before the murders, came to talk business with Andrew. There's speculation that that conversation might have aggravated things further, especially if it was about property transfers Lizzie and Emma felt threatened their inheritance.
And there's this other peculiar detail kind of adds to the unsettling vibe of the house. The entire Borden household got violently ill for several days right before the murders.
Right, the bad mutton theory.
Yeah, possibly from mutton left on the stove. Abby, actually, she feared they were being poisoned. She knew Andrew wasn't exactly popular in town.
Suggests an undercurrent of paranoia was already there, doesn't it?
It really does. So when the police started investigating Lizzie's behavior, it almost immediately raised eyebrows. Her first answers to their questions were, well, strange, often contradictory. She was described as being too calm and poised.
Yeah.
Which, instead of being reassuring, just made people more suspicious.
Indeed. And an intriguing detail pops up when you look at her specific inconsistencies. First, Lizzie reported hearing a groan, right, or some distress call. Then later, she claimed she heard nothing at all. Even more confusing. When they asked about Abby, she first said Abby got a note to visit a sick friend.
Okay.
But then, later, she asked if someone could maybe look for her upstairs. Even though Abby's body would have been pretty visible to anyone on the second floor. A floor Lizzie claimed she hadn't been on.
That just, yeah, that doesn't track.
It raises serious questions. Was she lying? Or was her state of mind just completely elsewhere?
And a crucial turn, maybe a misstep, came with how the police handled things. It was frankly controversial. Despite Lizzie's odd behavior, her changing stories, they didn't thoroughly check her for bloodstains.
No.
Her room got only a cursory inspection. Police later admitted they didn't do a proper search because she, quote, wasn't feeling well.
Right, which led to huge criticism later for, well, lack of diligence, especially given how serious the crime was.
Absolutely.
And down in the basement, investigators found, a bunch of hatchets and axes, including this one hatchet head with a broken handle. That became the prime suspect for the murder weapon. The break looked fresh, and it seemed like ash or dust had been deliberately put on it, maybe to make it look old. But the critical missing piece here is that none of these tools were taken from the house right away for proper analysis, which, complicates everything. Allows for contamination, maybe tampering.
Yeah, huge oversight. And then came this really damning piece of circumstantial evidence. This pushed public opinion even further against Lizzie. August 7th, so 3 days after the murders, Alice Russell, a friend who was staying with the sisters, she finds Lizzie in the kitchen tearing up a dress.
The dress incident, yes.
Lizzie claimed it was stained with paint, said she was going to burn it. Now, it was never definitively proven if it was the dress she wore that day.
Right.
But the timing, you have to admit, it looks incredibly suspicious.
Oh, absolutely.
So when you line up these details, the inconsistencies, the police may be dropping the ball, that suspicious dress, it's easy to see why people, even her friends, started thinking, It painted a very uncomfortable picture. Lizzie was arrested August 11th, indicted December 2nd. Her trial kicked off June 5, 1893 in New Bedford. It drew massive publicity, huge public interest. It really became the trial of the century, kind of like, the O.J. trial later on. It just captivated everyone.
The prosecution, though, they really faced some big challenges in court. They struggled to prove convincingly that the hatchet head from the basement was actually the murder weapon.
Right.
And despite how brutal the crime was, they couldn't produce any bloody clothing. That's a huge hurdle, right? Leaves the jury with considerable doubt.
Yeah, that's tough. But the prosecution also hit another massive roadblock. A key piece of evidence was actually kept out.
Yeah.
Evidence that Lizzie tried to buy prussic acid, that's hydrogen cyanide, the day before the murders.
A day before.
Yeah. She claimed it was for cleaning a sealskin cloak. But the medical examiner testified, nope, it has no antiseptic properties for cleaning fur. But the judge ruled it inadmissible, said it was too remote in time. But you have to wonder what impact that might have had on the jury if they'd heard it.
Oh, definitely. The defense, on the other hand, they skillfully focused on Lizzie's alibi. Place her out in the barn for, 20 minutes or possibly half an hour during the key time frame?
Right.
And they had witnesses who backed up her timing. That was crucial for establishing plausible innocence.
Yeah.
And then there was that dramatic moment when the victim's actual autopsied skulls were presented as evidence in court.
Oh, wow.
Lizzie fainted. Right there in the courtroom. A very vivid scene, It undoubtedly affected the jury, maybe stirred some sympathy.
And here's a weird coincidence that kind of added another layer to how people saw the case. 5 days before Lizzie's trial started, there was another axe murder in Fall River with really similar brutal details.
Bertha Manchester.
Right. Now, the guy who did it, Jose Correa de Mello, he was caught later and confirmed not to be in Fall River during the Borden murders.
Okay.
But those similarities, they were definitely noticed by the jurors at Lizzie's trial. Maybe planted a little seed of doubt, about a single, unique killer.
It's possible. And then you had presiding Justice Justin Dewey. He gave this lengthy summary to the jury that significantly seemed to lean towards the defense before they even started deliberating. And after only about an hour and a half, the jury acquitted Lizzie Borden of all charges.
An hour and a half. Wow.
Yeah. She reportedly told reporters afterwards she was the happiest woman in the world.
So, okay, after hearing all that, what do you make of it? A trial with so much compelling circumstantial evidence against her, yet she walks free.
It's a question that's puzzled people for generations.
Yeah.
It makes you really think about justice, doesn't it?
It really does. And despite being acquitted, Lizzie absolutely remained the prime suspect in the public eye. This lingering uncertainty, this lack of closure, it just sparked countless theories over the decades. Everyone trying to fill that void, answer that question.
Right. And it's interesting how these theories try to fill the gaps. Like in 1967, the writer Victoria Lincoln suggested Lizzie might have done it while in a fugue state. That rare dissociative thing where someone has temporary amnesia, might wander off. It suggests maybe a psychological break, not necessarily a cold, planned act.
That's one angle. Another prominent idea, hinted at even back then in local papers and later explored by scholar Marcia Carlisle, is the abuse theory. Speculation that Lizzie was maybe physically, even sexually abused by her father. Now, there's little direct evidence. I mean, incest wasn't exactly discussed openly then, but it offers a powerful psychological motive, if true. Casts a very dark shadow on the family dynamic.
And the deeper implication is this constant drive to find a why, isn't it? Then you get the more sensational stuff. Mystery author Evan Hunter Ed McBain, he floated this lesbian tryst theory in 1984.
Right, I've heard that one.
He speculated Lizzie killed Abby after Abby caught her with the maid, Bridget Sullivan, and reacted with disgust. Then Lizzie killed Andrew in a rage when he reacted similarly. He even suggested Sullivan got rid of the hatchet. Now, there was zero contemporary talk of a tryst, and Sullivan later married a man.
But it adds drama.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It highlights how a lack of answers just fuels creative, sometimes wild speculation.
But, okay, Lizzie was acquitted, so the spotlight had to shift, right? Public imagination needed somewhere else to look. Who else fell under suspicion? What were those threads of doubt? Well, there's John Morse, Lizzie's maternal uncle. He had that almost absurdly perfect and over-detailed alibi for when Abby died. Police did consider him a suspect for a while. Then Emma Borden, the older sister. Crime writer Frank Spearing theorized Emma, even though her alibi was 15 miles away in Fairhaven, might have secretly popped back to the house, killed her parents, and returned.
Bit of a stretch, maybe, but...
A theory. And of course, Bridget Sullivan, the maid. While nobody suspected an affair back then, there is this later folklore a supposed deathbed confession in 1948 where she admitted changing her testimony to protect Lizzie.
Probably just folklore, but it persists. And the complexity deepens when you ask why all these alternative theories stick around. It comes back to the missing pieces, doesn't it? No definitive murder weapon found, no bloody clothes ever produced, Lizzie's own conflicting stories. It all means no one else was ever charged. The case stays technically unsolved in the public mind. It's just this canvas for endless speculation, a vacuum that narrative keeps trying to fill.
After the trial, Lizzie's life changed dramatically. She and Emma moved to Maplecroft, big modern house in the hill, a fancy neighborhood Andrew had always refused to move to. Some people see that as Lizzie's, final rebellion against her parents' way of life.
To be.
She even started going by Lizzie Borden, lived with staff, just a total contrast to life on 2nd Street.
And a compelling detail is the financial outcome. Because Abby was legally ruled to have died before Andrew.
Right, that timing again.
Her estate went to Andrew. Then, when he died moments later, essentially it all passed to his daughters as part of his estate. This outcome really solidified the greed motive for a lot of people, even though a big settlement was eventually paid to Abby's family. It's a legal technicality with huge financial and public perception consequences.
Yeah, definitely fueled that fire. But despite the acquittal, Lizzie was mostly ostracized by Fall River society. Her name even hit the headlines again in 1897, accused of shoplifting in Providence, Rhode Island. Suggests public scrutiny, maybe a reputation for scandal, kind of followed her around. And the family dynamics just kept deteriorating. In 1905, Emma moved out of Maplecroft. Apparently after a big argument over a party, Lisbeth threw for an actress, Nance O'Neill.
Yeah. And his sisters never saw each other again. Just highlights the lasting scars within the family decades after the trial. Shows how deep those cracks really ran.
Wow. Lizzie died of pneumonia in 1927, aged 66. Her funeral was apparently sparsely attended, kind of a quiet, maybe sad end for such a notorious figure. But her will held a few surprises. She left a significant estate, over $250,000, which you said is like $6 million today.
About that, yeah.
And a substantial chunk, $30,000, went to the Fall River Animal Rescue League. And she even set aside money for the perpetual care of her father's grave. Makes you wonder about her true feelings for him in the end, doesn't it?
It does. And putting this whole thing in broader context, Lizzie Borden's story has really taken on the quality of like an American myth. It's transcended the actual facts of the case. Her old home at 92 2nd Street is now a museum and a bed and breakfast. You can stay there.
Wild.
And pieces of evidence, including that maybe not hatchet head, they're preserved at the Fall River Historical Society. The physical history keeps the legend alive, blurring those lines between fact and folklore.
And her presence in culture is just ubiquitous. Astonishing, really. Beyond the rhyme, she's been in countless films, plays, musicals, operas, TV shows. I hear there's even an upcoming Netflix series.
Always something new.
And literature, of course. Get this, Elizabeth Montgomery, who famously played Lizzie in that 1975 TV movie.
Yeah.
Turns out she was Lizzie's 6th cousin once removed.
No way.
Yeah. Talk about uncanny casting.
It's incredible.
So, okay. We've unpacked the brutal crime, the confusing investigation, the shocking trial, all the theories that have bubbled up since. But over 130 years later, that central question, it's still as potent as ever. Who killed Andrew and Abby Borden?
And what's truly insightful here, I think, is how the ambiguity of the evidence, combined with the sensational nature of the crime and who Lizzie was or seemed to be, has let the story just morph into this huge cultural phenomenon. Each generation finds new ways to interpret it all, interpret Lizzie herself. We kind of project our own societal concerns onto this past event. She becomes almost a mirror for our own fascinations.
Which raises a really important question, doesn't it? Does the public's enduring fascination with Lizzie Borden come from a deep desire for justice? A need for a clear answer to this awful act? Or is it just the irresistible pull of a story that refuses to be neatly tied up? Maybe that very lack of a definitive answer is precisely why she remains such an enduring icon of American folklore.
Could be.
We definitely invite you to dig into the original source materials for yourself, see what conclusions you draw.
You have been listening to Midnight Atlas. For more journeys into the unknown, be sure to follow or subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Until our next journey, stay curious.